Hello dear viewers, welcome back. As promised, we're here with a new video, this time in the new ComfyUI front-end environment.
Well, I've been told my voice is a bit robotic, like a government video or airplane safety announcement. Oops, didn't mean to sound like that.
If your ears are still intact after hearing my sister's terrible voice, no offense, sis, here is a tip. Turn off the audio, put on some music, and switch on subtitles for a chill viewing experience.
Sorry. Hallo Freunde, die deutsche Schwester begrüßt euch herzlich zu einem kurzen Update.
Murphy has made some neat tweaks and optimizations to the base workflow, and it's been thoroughly tested. Well, almost. But it should run smoothly for everyone. We'll give you a quick overview and some cool tips. For a more detailed look, feel free to check out the full video series. The modular workflow's purpose remains the same.
Okay, machen Sis. Wir wollen dann grillen.
Just hit the 0 key on your keyboard to view info on the new features and the shortcut list. Plus, you can quickly create a QR code. The default link is set to Murphy's YouTube channel, but you can customize it as needed. And of course, also switch off the complete group. Next, let's press 1. This lets you switch on and off the groups, which I'll explain briefly. The base sampler is intended for models that do not necessarily require a refiner or have been trained without one. You can overwrite the checkpoint VAE with the extra VAE, or if the checkpoint does not have one integrated, select a VAE model here. We almost always use this. At the bottom, you'll find the custom advanced sampler for enabling it. Enabling it alone works just like with the base sampler or base with refiner for SDXL, but it doesn't support external VAE, only the built-in one can be used. 2 fields above, simply activate the Flux checkpoint group. The VAE of the checkpoint have to always be used here. Therefore, the additional VAE has no function here in SDXL. For both the Flux checkpoint and Flux Direct features, you'll always need the custom advanced sampler. Flux Direct is the second to last toggle. This lets you use the original Flux models, and everything you need is already set up for you. We'll dive deeper into this in the special group. We now simply switch back to standard SDXL, and talk briefly about the blue switches. Want to do image to image? No problem. You don't need an extra workflow or any rearrangement, just enable it here. It works with all the previously mentioned models, whether Flux or SDXL. Simply set your desired denoising strength. For SDXL, we recommend around 0.45, and for Flux, between 0.75 and 0.85. Other values can also work well, depending on what you want to achieve. We'll cover this in more detail in another video. Now, let's talk about the pink-colored switches for styling groups. Yes, Murphy isn't a huge fan of pink, but let's move past that. Smiley face, we've got clip temperature and prompting with clip and deep Danbaru analysis. Murphy has revised all style groups and made them available in the main workflow. 2 groups are already built in. You should not switch these off, otherwise all stylers will be activated when you switch them on again, which is clearly too much. You can switch individual stylers on or off within these special groups. We have already introduced the other stylers and shown how you can quickly swap them by adding or removing 3 noodles. You can find more information on this in one of our last videos. If you want to use prompt with image, you can find the switch here. If you activate the switch, both analysis models will be activated, but it is best to select only one to avoid confusion, as only the clip model will be prioritized if both are activated. In this group, you can control what gets recognized in the image. For instance, set the direction to a photograph of a painting of a cat or a painting of a dog, among other options. This way, you can guide the AI in interpreting the image according to your preferences. The last group in the base workflow is the Upscale group. Here, you have the option to upscale with latent upscale using SDXL. This allows you to add more detail to your images. When enabled, it automatically downscales again for further optimizations on a smaller image. Alternatively, you can disable downscale and allow the image size to continue growing. With the next switch, you can activate an optimization with a Flux checkpoint model. If both are activated, the Flux optimization has priority. For example, you can switch a Flux optimization in between in an SDXL workflow. Next, there's the SD Ultimate Upscale group, which also activates downscale simultaneously. This allows you to add another upscale option without making the image too large, saving resources. Of course, you can turn it off if you want to go for higher resolutions like 8K. With the following Ultimate SD Upscale group, automatic downscale is disabled by default. However, if you prefer, you can enable it later for resource-saving purposes. Finally, you'll find the Hires Fix toggle and the 2 standard upscale groups. Feel free to enable these for further customization of your image resolution. Let me zoom out so you can see all the groups. Keep in mind, there are even more possibilities in the larger workflows, but we won't be discussing those today.
Gib Gas, Sis.
In this section, we set the seed. We usually use a fixed seed, and all settings in our workflow are set to fixed. This allows us to add more optimizations step by step if we like the base image. But you can also switch to an automatic, random seed if you prefer. Like other features, it depends on your specific use case. The seed is valid for SDXL, Flux, or Pony models. The next node is solely for previewing our checkpoint collection. It's not connected to any other functions. It's just a convenient way to see what's available. Choose the checkpoint you want to use for generating your image here. Beneath that, you can select the corresponding clipset layer based on the model you've chosen. Some models allow for experimenting with this setting, while others, like Pony models, only function with specific values. The red node is used to select an additional VAE model. This has no function with Flux. And in the blue node, you can set the desired refiner model. In the bright green nodes, you can select your desired Flux checkpoint, choose from Quick, Dev, or the new BND-NF4 checkpoint. We've already shown you how to obtain these checkpoints in our previous video, and there are many helpful tutorials from our fellow Comfy YouTubers on the subject. In this light green group, you can set the values for the Advanced sampler, which is also used for Flux checkpoints. In the dark green group, you've to set up the Inspire samplers for SDXL. The Inspire sampler offers more selection options compared to a standard sampler, so you'll need to choose the scheduler separately for it. In the gray node, you can set the source size for generation. The inputs will override the default values, so if you want to use your own, switch to custom and enter your values at the top. The upscale factor isn't connected in our workflow and is set separately in each group. For SDXL, the clip scale is also worth mentioning. We recommend values of 2 or 4 to improve image quality without sacrificing performance. At the bottom, you'll find additional prompting tools that we covered in more detail in our prompting video. Be sure to check that out for a closer look at how to make the most of these features. We won't be discussing the model patches group in depth today. However, you can still experiment with these settings to improve your image generation. One example is the free uversion 2 setting in our template, which can help generate better hands. In the next group, the focus is primarily on Lora models for SDXL. The first node is meant to provide a preview of the various Lora models available. We believe this is especially important, as it helps maintain an overview, which would otherwise be easily lost with so many options. After that, you have the option to load and adjust the strength of up to 4 Lora models simultaneously. We're aware that there are more elegant solutions out there, but we want to embed the Lora model's information directly into the generated images. Therefore, we've chosen this method, and haven't found a better solution yet. Remember to use the Lora models from top to bottom, without skipping any nodes, or the system won't work properly. Following that, you'll find 3 options to speed up or improve the generation process. We won't delve into these in detail right now, except to mention that self-attention guidance and automatic CFG, which we've enabled in this template, don't work together. You won't be able to generate reasonable images with both enabled, so it's not a good idea to just turn everything on without considering their compatibility. When you press 2, you'll see this view focusing on the prompt group. Just note that the first two nodes at the top have a special function, as they're used for both clip-F and clip-L simultaneously. We've already covered what these settings are for in our prompting video. As a side note, we're also testing a modified version of positive clip-L for Flux models, but its impact is still being evaluated. The next groups are intended for styler and blip analysis, and we have specific videos covering those topics as well. However, it's worth mentioning that further down, where you can attach styler groups, you have the ability to control how your prompt is composed. This allows you to achieve a variety of results. We highly recommend experimenting with this to get a feel for the possibilities it offers. For completeness, in the next group, you can enable extra conditioning for SDXL models. There's a specific video explaining this feature in more detail. You can enter the prompt you want to use here in the brown nodes. Then just select the variant you want to use and set it accordingly. Here below, you can always see with which prompt you use for the SDXL sampler. In this corner, you can see the settings for the custom advanced sampler and adjust the Flux settings. The pink group contains settings for Flux direct models. For beginners, we recommend keeping the default settings. You can find more information about using Flux in our workflow in our previous video. At the top, you can also see the prompt that goes into the custom sampler. Finally, you'll find the standard base sampler for SDXL and the base refiner sampler combination. Note that Automatic CFG is enabled here, which speeds up the generation process, but may not adhere to the prompt as perfectly. Experiment with this. Usually, we have it turned off for the sampler and enabled for the Upscale groups to stay as close to the prompt as possible while still optimizing the workflow's speed. Let us briefly show you how it works. Lastly, let's quickly cover the optimization and upscale groups.
Hold on, sis. It looks like Murphy has included a GITSScheduler Func provider node. We haven't checked what that's meant for, so perhaps one of our viewers could share some info with us. Let's see if anyone in the community can shed some light on this.
Great idea, sis. To reiterate for our viewers, if anyone has any insights on the GITSScheduler Func provider node, please share them with us. As always, we appreciate your comments and questions. Just post them below the video, and we'll be happy to take a look. Alright, here you see the Optimize with Flux MG to MG group. You can use this to optimize your image using Flux. The most important setting here is the denoise option. Play around with the values to see the effects it has on your image. Below that, you'll find the latent upscale group. Once again, the crucial setting here is denoise, and you can also adjust various sampler settings. Make sure to use a different seed from the standard seed to avoid burning. The group's description may be a bit misleading, as you can also use this group to modify a Flux-generated image using an SDXL latent upscale. Well, technically, that's not entirely correct, because we use a VEA encode to reconstruct an SDXL latent from the Flux image. It's a bit like building a bridge between the two models. Let's briefly go over the various upscaler groups. The SD Ultimate Upscalers require upscale models, and once again, the denoise setting is extremely important to achieve the desired results, although here, you'll typically use lower values. At the end, we have the Hires Fix and the Standard Upscalers, which are used primarily to increase the size of the image without focusing on other enhancements. Finally, let's discuss the group for saving images. Here, you can choose between different variations. With Start Image refers to the image directly from the sampler, without any optimizations. By default, it's set to embed the workflow into the image. The second variant lets you save the optimized image, including all optimizations, as a JPEG or WebP file, for example. By default, it's set not to embed the workflow into the image. The last variant saves your image with all optimizations and the embedded workflow as a PNG file. This option includes all information, but it also requires the most storage space. Up here, you can configure how your file name and file path will look. There's a suffix and a prefix option, and you can set the path settings for the finish and start images. Additionally, there are specific suffixes for different storage variants. The embedded information is displayed in the black nodes. In the middle, there's a comparison between the start and finish images. We'll show you how this works live when we play around with our workflow at the end of the video. I just realized we haven't shown you the image input group yet. It's nothing special, really. You can use it to load images for blip analysis, Controlnet, or image to image. There are two variants available, the standard loader and the SD prompt reader, which lets you retrieve any information you've stored in your image. There's a separate tool specifically for this purpose, which we'll quickly show you. The easiest way to get there is by navigating through the manager. Once you've downloaded the SD prompt reader.x, you can run it. As always, remember that we can't guarantee its safety. Proceed at your own risk, just like with everything else we demonstrate. To be absolutely clear, we cannot guarantee the safety or reliability of anything we demonstrate. If you choose to follow our examples, or use the tools and resources we show, you do so at your own risk. We can't be held responsible for any issues that may arise as a result of using these tools or techniques. With this tool, you can easily extract all the information embedded in an image, making it a handy resource for those working with images in their AI-related projects.
Come on, sis. Let's finally play around in our new surroundings. Enough with your explanations.
Sounds good, sis. Let's get started. Press that cube prompt button, and we'll be on our way. Since we're using the RTX 4080 computer today, we won't speed up the video. This way, you'll get a sense of how quickly, or slowly, everything runs in real time. Oh my goodness, we completely forgot to talk about the Controlnet section. Murphy made some changes there recently. We now use the SDXL All-in-One Model Pro Max by Zenseer, which you can find in the model loader within the manager. However, we just released a video about Controlnet not too long ago, so the functions haven't changed much. You can find additional information in that video if you're interested.
The first run takes a little longer. Latent Upscale. Optimize with Flux.
Sis, we're running out of memory, but of course we're recording video as well as Comfy. Murphy should finally buy more memory, the old cheapskate. Okay, we'll speed up the video at these points after all.
I am now switching on both as the ultimate upscalers.
This is now back to original speed.
And now new with SDXL and Refiner.
We switch to Custom Advanced Sampler. And now, we're going to switch to Flux. Oh dear viewers, unfortunately, the video recording crashed. The model loading was a nightmare, and it took almost 3 minutes to generate the base image. Murphy, for goodness sake, buy more memory. Oops, I think we already discussed this. And now, we're going to switch to Flux. Oh dear viewers, unfortunately, the video recording crashed. The model loading was a nightmare, and it took almost 3 minutes to generate the base image. Murphy, for goodness sake, buy more memory. Oops, I think we already discussed this. Nevertheless, we will show you the picture briefly.
Okay, let's start with OpenPose Controlnet. We'll use the messed up picture of the girl again to control it.
Okay, restart. Flux works quite well without video recording. If you have too little memory, you can simply delete this group together with the node or not activate it. We will now show you a few things that Flux cannot yet do. For this we use SDXL. Now, we're just going to try a bunch of things randomly. Just sit back and enjoy the nonsense we're doing. We wish you a good time, and see you soon. My sister and Murphy are already lighting the grill. If you liked this video, please leave a like, we really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's free, and you won't miss any updates. If you're particularly interested in something, let us know in the comments. And a quick apology to the viewer waiting for the colors workflow. We haven't forgotten, but we still haven't started working on it yet. The sausages are Flux ready. Goodbye friends, see you soon.